week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 287. Mr. Samich.
Huzzah!
How you doing today, man? Welcome back. We're a day later than usual because we had a 4th of July weekend. It was nice and relaxing. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing excellent. It was a fun weekend. We did a little staycation, went downtown, celebrating our 8th anniversary yesterday, which was pretty exciting as well. Got my wife fireworks again this year, so kind of checked that one off the list. Yeah, it was a good little weekend. We were able to walk around downtown, get some drinks, and go to some restaurants, and have a good time.
Nice. My parents were in town. They got in Friday afternoon, went and picked them up from the airport, and that was their first time flying into Burbank. And if you've never flown in or out of Burbank Airport, the weather's so nice here in California, especially at Burbank, that you literally just walk off the plane onto the tarmac, and they empty from both ends of the airplanes, which throws people off. And my parents they ended up with seats in the very back of the plane. And when they just figured when they landed, they have another half hour, 45 minutes. So they're still reading, watching whatever they were doing on their phone. And they were like, oh, we can just get off right now, just right there. We don't have to wait for everybody off the plane. Okay, cool. So it was a fun experience for them. But I'm gonna steal it. The best thing that I saw this weekend was when my parents came, because you'll be able to relate to this, Mike. When you They got a hotel room for the weekend, so they're just about a half a mile away at Courtyard. And my mom insisted that we take their hotel room, Celeste and I, for the first night, just so that we could actually get some sleep and not be up every few hours with the crying baby. And so it was a little different. This is how you know kids instantly change your life as an adult, because when it's just the two of you, when you're just a couple, you're like, hey, we're getting a hotel room for the night. It usually means one thing. When you have a brand new kid and someone's like, go to the hotel room, it just means, oh my God, I can sleep and sleep and sleep and just not worry about anything. We slept in, we went to a late brunch. I think we got home at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. It's very easy for us to just kind of let go. I was a little surprised we both handled it really well, but that was done for the best thing, was just that night of peaceful relaxation in a quiet hotel room. Oh.
And it's huge to have parents there too, because the first time you leave for something like that, trusting someone with your kid is a huge step, and having parents to be able to do it makes life so much easier than if you're doing that and it's like, some random babysitter you found on an app for $15 an hour, because then you're just like freaking out the whole damn time.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's probably exactly why it happened. So her family's coming at the end of the month, so we got a few weeks where it's just the two of us again, and then we have some more help arriving, so that's pretty awesome. But that's the best thing I saw. I wanted to get mine out of the way because yours is a bit bigger here, and you're getting some public congratulations already in the chat.
How do you know it's the best thing I saw? I mean, it is.
How was that not?
I'm going with punching my ticket to BCBC. I was fortunate enough on, I think it was, Sunday, on the 4th, to be able to win a $56 qualifier and then win a $500 qualifier and punch my ticket to San Diego, which is really exciting. To me, there's two major tournaments that you want to play in every year. NHC, which you have to win your way in, and that's in Las Vegas. This upcoming one is in August, and the following one is in February. And then BCBC, which is a $10,000 buy-in, so you can buy your way in. I don't know if I would if I didn't qualify for it, because you have to have a mindset in BCBC to be able to go to zero really easily, and you have to be willing to bet $7,500 to win on the horse in the first race of the qualifying stage if you're really trying to win the tournament. So for me, being able to get into the BCBC on a seat means that I get to play it, which I got to play it last year with 2 seats. I'm going to try and get a second one, but I have been like this damn close 4 or 5 times to getting a BCBC seat this year. So to be able to get it on Sunday was the best thing I saw.
Yeah, congratulations to that. And it was funny because I found out about it from Dr. Tang, who's a regular listener watching the show. He texted, hey, Mike qualified for it. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like 15 minutes later, you told the rest of the chat, or the rest of the group, the Racing Dudes team. So it's like, I got my information. It's like getting it. It's like how the Medina Spirit information broke, like long before you thought the people who actually were going to deliver the information brought it to you. So.
Well, to be fair, I was at my cousin's house, and there were 6 of us there during the last race, and I'm like sneaking to the bathroom to watch the last race so that I'm not like don't have my phone out. So I'd never met any of these other people, so I don't want to be rude, but watching a horse race on my phone. But I mean, it's also a BCBC seat, so I kind of want to watch the horse race. And I actually would have won an NHC seat too if the 7 had won the last at Gulfstream. So I was like, all right, I kind of want to watch this race. And so I'm sneaking into the bathroom, and I just watched the end of it. I put my phone away, don't say a word. I'm like, yes, then walk back out there and finish my cocktail and have a big old smile on my face. So Jenna knew right away that I'd won. And so it was a blast, man. It was fun. It's just, my luck on big days is just unbelievable. Last anniversary, I won an NHC seat. My birthday, I won the Belmont tournament for $32,000. I won what was it? I think on my wife's birthday, I won an NHC seat. So it's just like, whenever there's a big event in my life or Jenna's life, that's when I'm the most dangerous in these tournaments.
That's crazy. As Michael Myers says, full degen. That's great too. I love that your wife knows you well enough that you just come out of the bathroom and just your body language as you sit down with the drink tells her everything she needs to know, which is, well, Mike's going to Del Mar in November. It
was fun. I told her I would try and not be overly focused on horse racing, and so we were sitting eating brunch when I was putting in my final picks on my phone. And I'm like just getting it in real quick, and I'd luckily done all the handicapping because I was in the NHC tournament already, so I just made a couple tweaks to it. But I'm sitting in a diner doing that. I didn't get to watch barely any racing in the actual day, so it was kind of fun to just hit the refresh button. And every now and then you see your name go up, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, I got a shot here. So yeah, a lot of fun. Can't wait to punch my ticket or happy to punch my ticket down to San Diego and officially be at the Breeders' Cup, which I was going to go to anyway. And then yeah, man, I'm getting pumped for Saratoga now too. I mean, that would be, if I hadn't have done this, Saratoga and Del Mar 2 weeks away would easily be the best thing. I put up a tweet just saying, hey, I'm going to be in Saratoga for a month. What are the best restaurants? The thing went crazy, man. Like 175, 200 responses with different restaurant recommendations. Thank you, everyone who threw those out there. I got like 10 or 15 different DMs. Like I said, if you're at the track, especially on a weekend, shoot me a DM. I'm probably there somewhere. And we can hopefully try and meet up and grab a beer or something. And then, I will be up there for a month. I can't wait to actually go to Saratoga. Being up there for a full month last year, 1.5 miles from the track, and not being able to go in those gates was literal torture. So I can't wait this year to be able to do it as much as I want.
We got a question here from Dennis. He wants to know, which would you rather qualify for, the NHC tournament or the BCBC?
For me, NHC. I think I have a bigger edge in the NHC than I do in the BCBC. I've only played 2 live money tournaments. Well, actually, now I've played 5. But I feel like you really have to have a plan in BCBC and then try and execute that plan. You have to come up with it beforehand. And the limited number of people that enter can win. I think some people just aren't aggressive enough. I haven't learned enough in those live money tournaments to really be able to hone my game yet. NHC is win place. And for me, I think I am extremely dangerous in any win place tournament I enter because I have the ability to adjust mid tournament. And I've had a lot of success playing those. I feel really comfortable playing those. I'll feel comfortable at NHC because I was doing so well there. I did well there last year. So hopefully we can just kind of keep that rolling. But for me, NHC is over BCBC. Especially when you're talking about qualified, because I could buy into BCBC if I really wanted to. NHC, you have to win your way in. It's one of the cool things about it.
Yeah, BCBC. Anybody with a large enough bankroll can buy their way into it. It's not cheap to get. What is it? $5,000 to enter the BCBC.
$10,000, $2,500 goes to the prize pool. $7,500 is a live betting bankroll.
Boy, yeah. So you got to have a big bankroll, and then you got to have the big set of brass ones to go ahead and just go out there and do like $5,000, daily double bets or something like that, and bet your whole weekend, everything you've done right there on that one race. That's crazy.
And that's the funny thing. Like last year at BCBC, I hit $1,000 cold exacta, and I wasn't betting aggressive enough to win the tournament. And you don't know that until afterward, until you go back and you look at it. Because it's also like the other thing with the BCBC and any live money contest. The last 3 races are the races that matter the most. That's when you see these monster moves. And so if you don't have big opinions in the last race, it's really tough to win these things. I mean, when I won the contest in Texas, I went all in to win on a horse in the last race to be able to jump everybody. I tried to do that same thing on the Monday of that Texas contest, where I probably would have won the contest if Warriors Charge wins that race. So you have to be willing to do that. And Breeders' Cup can be a really tough time. If it's Vino Rosso's year, I would have loved to be the BCBC. Last year, I could tell you I had no chance. If you tell me Authentic wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, I can tell you there's 0 chance I'm winning the BCBC because that wasn't going to be my horse. So those live money tournaments, it's definitely a skill to learn to bet properly and go through it. You really have to have the winner in the last, or else you can't win the tournament.
Well, that's going to transition us perfectly in what we're talking about today. We had 3 different Breeders' Cup official winning your in races over the weekend, 5 races in total that we're going to talk about that affect 3 major divisions here. So if you want to know Mike's thoughts right now as to what we're looking ahead for as the Breeders' Cup nears in Del Mar, make sure you stay tuned. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. All right, Mike, first race we're going to talk about from the weekend. Let's go back to Saturday, July 3rd. Go to Belmont Park for the Grade 2 $400,000 Suburban Stakes. This is a Breeders' Cup winner in for the Classic. Going a mile and a quarter at Belmont is a perfect setup for it. Coming into this, the big discussion was Mystic Guide returning from his romp in Dubai. Before that, we saw him look great in Razorback. How is he going to do? What's the Dubai bounce going to look like? Happy Saver, undefeated, beat Mystic Guide last year, course and distance in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Can he turn the tables? So, of course, it's Max Player at 11-1 that gets the job done here. Mike, one burning question here from the Suburban about the Breeders' Cup Classic. Is Max Player for real?
No. I mean... No, not even a little bit. Like this is definitely the funeral or the wedding. I mean, it was my funeral because I had a nice little future wager on Mystic Guide there to win this race, or fixed odds bet. But to me, like this is a race where Son of Honor Code, a very good sire over the mud. You got to think that the track helped elevate Max Player. I mean, I think you also have to talk a little bit about Mystic Guide's trip here. It looked like a dream trip on the rail, but he was in really tight through part of that segment. And the rail was also dead at Belmont on the 3rd. So the combination of a bad rail and how tight he got placed there, I'm not sure this trip is as good as it looks. Now, not making any excuse for Mystic Guide. Mystic Guide should have won this race, given everything that went down. But it was also first back from Saudi. I mean, I can make a bunch of excuses for Mystic Guide here. Happy Saver looked awful, just awful. Like that was a bad race from Happy Saver. And Max Player ran his career best effort, which kind of came out of nowhere. But like, again, we talk about the different angles that we like to play. If you look at Max Player, okay, he's a 4-year-old. So we're talking mid to late 4-year-old season, second off a layoff, second coming back from overseas, has a 99 buyer in New York late in the 3-year-old season. So this isn't like out of nowhere. You put all that together, and yeah, Max Player is a contender here if he takes this monster step up, which I was not expecting, but he was able to do it. And Mystic Guide doesn't play to come back as a full A game here, right? This is kind of the B+ game for Mystic Guide. So no, Max Player is not a contender, but I would give an excuse to Mystic Guide here.
I'm going to give Mystic Guide a total pass on this one. And specifically, you talked about the rail being dead. Brad Cox said afterwards, he's like, I know why Luis Saez went inside. It was probably his best chance to win with that. But the rail was, he said he thought being stuck inside was the worst part. This is a very sloppy track that they were running on. And he looked like he just got tired. I mean, if we're going a mile and an eighth, I think he wins this race. A mile and a quarter without, trying to knock off that rust like you mentioned, I think that's the same. Happy Saver, I'm going to give him a slight pass, but not nearly the same pass I'm giving Mystic Guide, right? Mystic Guide, you got the layoff and you've got the long distance. Happy Saver should have been better than that. He by all intents and purposes, was doing better than that. It's interesting moving forward now for these 3 horses because the initial thought was, all right, these 3 horses, they're going to go to the Whitney, or at least we thought Mystic Guide and Happy Saver would do that. That's at Saratoga next month. It sounds like Happy Saver is the only one pointing that way. Mystic Guide, because of Maxfield's presence in the Whitney, remember they're both owned by Godolphin, different trainers. Mike Stidham seems to think, I said Brad Cox earlier, I'm sorry. Mike Stidham is a trainer for Mystic Guide. He is saying that Mystic Guide is probably going to point to either the Pacific Classic or maybe the Jockey Club Gold Cup, so we'll see what happens there. Max Player, Asmussen said, because of the layoff, because this was such a big effort from him, he doesn't even know where he's going to send him. So it sounds like he's going to take his time and maybe wait for the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So these 3 horses, we're going to see them splinter off. For me as a handicapper, I wish that didn't happen because I want to see what they do against each other one more time before we meet up with the Classic. Does that affect you at all? Not really. I mean, look, Mystic Guide, Stidham is not like a New York-based trainer, so I'm not surprised that he is shipping out and going somewhere else for this next race. I wouldn't have been shocked if it was the Whitney, but if you're going to send Maxfield up there, then I probably agree. Like, until the Breeders' Cup Classic, why would you run the horses against each other? Happy Saver, I mean, I think New York is the logical step, right? You're going to go up to Saratoga. It's Todd Pletcher. Where else are you going to ship the horse, right? It makes sense that he's going to have him go up and run in the Whitney. So it'll be interesting to see what comes back. I hope Happy Saver gets bet. I mean, this horse still hasn't really
proved it to me yet. I mean, the big win was at Belmont, beating Mystic Guide. Mystic Guide has clearly taken multiple steps forward since that race. Happy Savior, we still don't know what we have. I mean, I talked about this when I was on You Better You Bet last Friday. Like, you just don't know with Happy Savior. You think he should be good. He should have taken a step forward here, but you haven't seen him actually do it here in his 4-year-old campaign, which is what he's going to have to do now against Maxfield and Whitney.
He also, now that this is hindsight's 2020, but that the first race Happy Saver has, it was a 1 mile win against Optional Claimers at Belmont, and it wasn't something that would make you go, that's the horse that's going to go off and win the Suburbans. It was workman-like. He did what he was supposed to, but he definitely looked like he needed the race, and maybe he needs a couple. He is trained by Todd Pletcher, so you would expect he's going to keep showing up at these big races. But we'll move on to the next race, which is why I was thinking Brad Cox before. Let's go to Prairie Meadows. What? Of course, we're going to Prairie Meadows to talk about the Cornhusker handicap here, all because of one horse, Brad Cox trained Nick's Go, making his big return to the winner's circle. This horse who won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile at 2 turns like a monster, wins the Pegasus World Cup like a monster, then cuts back to 1 turn for his next 2 races that can't be found, including the Met Mile. Suddenly he shows up here. So the one burning bonus question regarding the Breeders' Cup Classic for you, Mike, did Nick's Go reestablish himself as a top contender for the Classic?
No, not for me. I mean, like this race was a blowout, right? He got a monster time form number, like almost like had to double check it. It was so big. I think you mentioned he got like a 113 buyer, which is absolutely wild. But look, they went 23-1, 47, and really Last Judgment didn't pose much of a threat to him on the front end. This is where he just got loose on a track that has a little bit tighter turns and was able to just run away from everybody else when they came into the stretch. I mean, I don't think you learned anything from this race. I think if anything, what you learned is that Brad Cox doesn't trust Nick's Go right now, because this is where you ended up. You're not going in against big Grade 1 fields. I mean, why weren't you in the Suburban? Why, like, there are other places where you could go put this horse if you want to eventually be a Breeders' Cup Classic contender, and to end up here at Prairie Meadows, it tells me more about what Brad Cox thinks of the horse than anything else. And if it's not that high, I don't see why you would lean toward wanting Nick's Go in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
I think that Aaron put it absolutely best, which is I think seconds after the race was done, he tweeted out, "Never run this horse at 1 turn again." Nick's Go, I should have looked it up beforehand. I'll see if I can figure it out real quick here on the fly. I think he's either never won at 1 turn or he only has 1 victory. Let me take a quick look through his past performances, because I'm pretty sure he broke his maiden in 1 turn and then has never won in that again, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other times. Yeah, so he's 1 for 7 in 1 turn races. So definitely think that you really only Belmont's a spot you can go 1 turn and go kind of short, as short as he would want to go. You really don't like this horse though for the Classic. Who would you think that's still one of the Godolphin horses, one of the 3-year-olds?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to kind of come up with my top 10 here. And really quick, Aaron down here says he wasn't going to go there because he's not going to run him at 1.25 miles. Well, that's what the Breeders' Cup Classic is, right? So, I mean, that's one of the keys to me is, like, if you're not going to run him at 1.25 miles now, like, you really think he's going to be that much better here down the line? So I have a feeling, and I agree with this comment as well, he's not going to be there. I think that the Godolphin, Brad Cox Godolphin entry is going to essentially push him out. I think that you're going to see Essential Quality be Brad Cox's horse in the Breeders' Cup Classic, not Nick's Go. Who do I think is going to be the horses from the class? I mean, like, right now, Essential Quality and Mandaloon are top contenders to me. I'm still interested in Life is Good and what's going to happen there when you get him into the Pletcher barn. If he ends up trying to go 1.25 miles, I said it last week, you can't forget that was the best 3-year-old in the country by a lot before he got hurt. And yes, he was in the Baffert barn, but he was a freak in the Baffert barn. It wasn't like this was, it wasn't like this was one of the okay Baffert horses, right? And then on top of that, I think that you have to respect Maxfield after you saw what happened here. I do think Mystic Guide is still a player. I think that actually division is pretty wide open with some of these younger 3-year-olds. They're going to be improving. And then some of the 4-year-olds, I think, still have a chance to take a step forward.
It's definitely a fun one, and I like that we don't have a true consensus of who is the top one, other than there are a lot of great. It's not just there's a lot of shitty ones. Who do we try? Which is kind of how it felt in years past. Like is there anybody who's really that good? I don't really know, but no, this year we've got plenty of good ones to choose from. And the older males. Nick's Go, I'd love to see if he shows up in the Whitney, which will be the 1.8 miles, same as what the Cornhusker handicap was. I would love to see him show up in the Whitney. And then, even though we don't have Max Player or Mystic Guide necessarily going there, a lot of other good horses, including Maxfield, we talked about, who are headed that way. So they could make it fun. Although, as Michael Myers says, none of this is relevant since you didn't mention Tacitus. Listen, man, throw him at the bottom of your supers, baby. That's where Tacitus goes every time.
I'm looking for the Whitney. It'd be great if Nixco and Maxfield face off, because I think those are two horses that I don't love. So I'd have to, have this emotional battle of actually picking one or just completely rocking the boat and taking one of the shots.
Let's move on to Gulfstream Park, which somehow we went off the turf on Saturday. I don't know what happened, Mike. The weather report looked like it was good for us. Nope, we didn't get it done. My computer's being a bitch right now, so we'll see if it'll refresh itself there. We're going to look at the Grade 2 Princess Rooney Stakes. This is Breeders' Cup winning for the Filly Mare Sprint. I was huge on a horse named Estilo Talentoso in there, stepping up from a Grade 3 win, the Bed of Roses. She finished. It took her a really long time to get finishing, though. Behind a horse that you used in the multis, Mike, CeCe here gets the job done, and very impressively, 5-2 second choice, wins by over 3 lengths. Victor Espinoza, you know what I love, Mike? I shit talk a little bit about Victor Espinoza, and what does he do? He wins both of the greatest stakes races Saturday at Gulfstream. Kind of like a little subtle, that one to me. Thanks for listening, Victor. We appreciate you. Mike, anyways, my question here, CeCe ships east to win there at Gulfstream, but Gamine on Sunday in the Great Lady M Stakes, one like Gamine always tends to do on the dirt sprint. She's your defending Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, so the one burning question about this division, does CeCe or anyone else stand a chance against Gamine?
Not right now. I wish I had a better answer than that, but look, CeCe looked good in here. Estilo Talentoso got a little bit of a worse trip than CeCe did. Didn't quite break as sharply. Was shuffled back a little bit. CeCe got the better trip, got the win. She ran well. I think this is where she fits. We should stop trying her going 2 turns. But look, I tried to beat Gamine last year, and I'm not going to be that dumb this year. Look, she has proven that she can be versatile. She's faster than everyone else if she wants to be. She's able to stalk and win if she needs to be. The fact that she can kind of make her own trip with the level of talent that she has makes her awfully scary. So as long as she's in the Bob Baffert barn, I'm going to be interested in Gamine. That's kind of the only caveat I will put on this, because trainers are very important. Some trainers fit horses very well. I'd be very hesitant to say first in a new barn that I like her as much. But if she stays in the Bob Baffert barn, I think she is ultra tough and should be a heavy favorite.
I mean, I'm looking at her past performances. The last time she was even tested, you could say the Derby City Distaff. She only won by a length and a half. Wisconsin and gave her a really good test in there. Estilo Talentoso wasn't that far behind her, but you have to go back to May 2nd of 2020, that optional claimer that she won, was disqualified from, and then won again at Oaklawn by a neck. That's the last time she was really truly tested in a sprint race. Michael Myers, the very first thing we ever saw in the chat before we even went live, calling it now, CeCe will beat Gamine at Breeders' Cup. I would love to hear how that happens. I really don't understand the argument for CeCe. And here's a big thing of why I hate CeCe coming back to California. Trainer Michael McCarthy said the reason she went there to Florida is because she doesn't like the dirt on the California tracks. Not Santa Anita, the California tracks. Could it skip the Great Lady M? Where's the Losal? That Del Mar's going to be hosting the Breeders' Cup World Championships. If she doesn't like the dirt because it's too loose and too deep, and you had to go to Florida to get this win, I don't think that you got a fighter's chance in hell of trying to come back and winning the Breeders' Cup winnings at Del Mar.
That's a problem. That's definitely going to be a problem. I mean, I guess that's the one knock you could have on Gamine. She's never run at Del Mar, and Del Mar, we know, can be a finicky track for some horses. So I guess you could kind of make that knock, but she's got to be the biggest favorite of the weekend right now, right? I mean, obviously it's early. You could have a Golden Palace course, but right now in the divisions where we believe we know some of the shape of it, I would expect Gamine's going to be 2-5 in that race. I don't know how you get around her. She's that good.
Well, and the Filly Mare Sprint, in my short time covering horse racing, has produced a couple of really big bombs, including Bell's the One. So it is possible that you can get a good price in that race. We just didn't have one last year, but that's that division, Mike. We've got one left to talk about. On Sunday, we had the John A. Nehrude Stakes at Belmont Park. Firenze Fire was coming in looking for his 3rd straight victory. This is a horse that absolutely loves racing at Belmont Park, and yet it's Mind Control. Who? Mind Control, for the first time in a year and a half, hits the winner's circle, gets up by a head over Firenze Fire. first start for Todd Pletcher. He was moved there after being with Greg Sacco for forever. They moved him to Todd Pletcher. He steps right up, Johnny Neighborhood Stakes, winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Looking at this race, because of what happened, Mike, my burning question for you, did Mind Control step forward or did Firenze Fire regress here?
Well, can I say both in a way? I think Mind Control definitely took a pretty big step forward here. I think it was a logical one, though. This was one of the keys to me. This was actually my separator in the Breeders' Cup tournament. I had Mind Control in this spot. I thought it was the only other logical horse that could win this race. But one of the keys when you look at this is the distance. I mean, they went 7 furlongs. Firenze Fire is now 1 for 8 at 7 furlongs. And Mind Control is 5 for 12 now, right? So the 7 furlong advantage is heavily in Mind Control's favor. And you kind of saw that play out on the racetrack. When Firenze Fire makes the lead, Mind Control sits right off it and doesn't go by until kind of that final furlong. And then just, Firenze Fire can't re-rally on him. So the 7 furlongs, I think, is a huge factor in this. I don't want to downplay how big of a barn switch this is, though. Todd Pletcher, with a very good kind of longer-term sprinter horse, has always been dangerous. That 7 furlong distance, something he's traditionally very good at. I thought this was a great fit. I love the fact that Velasquez took them out. He's had some success on this horse before. I think Mind Control is going to be dangerous in like the Alan Jerkins, I think, is 7 furlongs up at Saratoga. There's going to be some 7 furlong sprint races at Saratoga, grade ones, that Mind Control is going to be awfully dangerous in. I like him there. I'm not taking anything away from Firenze Fire at 6 furlongs. People say, well, but he lost at Belmont. He's been a good horse in a lot of different places. The 7 furlongs, I think, is a more of an issue than the 6 furlong, or than than losing this race.
I didn't even realize this was a key reason you got your Breeders' Cup BCBC berth. That's awesome. Great job picking out. We talk about, this is something that you originate on the show, so it really should be credited for you, that the 7 furlong distance is extremely tricky because you've got horses that specialize at 6, 6.5. You're asking them to go a little bit longer. You've got horses that are milers that maybe just aren't quite fast enough to be elite at milers, but you just cut back 1 furlong and suddenly they're super sharp. Firenze Fire has lost, he's now lost 4 times in 11 starts at Belmont. I just went through and looked. 2 of those were 7 furlong races. So you got that to look forward to. I mean, that's really the 7 furlong thing is pretty tricky here. The race, I think you meant the Vanderbilt will be 6 furlongs. That's coming up at the end of this month. You also have the Vosburg, the Forego, which is going to be stretching back out to 7 furlongs. The Forego is where Mind Control is pointing here. This is a tough division to try and figure out because, we have horses. Dennis just brought him up here. Yopan, who came back with a really nice win at Pimlico. He had almost set the track record, or he set a stakes record at Pimlico last year in the Chick Lang. So he's very talented. I think it's too hard to predict the sprint race until we're maybe a month out from that division. Things are changing so often. Horses are peaking at the right time. It's kind of hard to pick out. Do you have a top pick for the sprint right now?
Right now, it'd be Yopan. I mean, I think that he's been wildly impressive since he came onto the scene. I think he was good enough in that comeback. Be interested to see where he goes next. I hope it's Saratoga. I hope he's in the Vosburg. I hope you see him going 6 furlongs and see what he can do there. This is one of those divisions, though, that really ebbs and flows because you have horses that kind of can take a step up in the second half of the year. You don't really know who's going to end up in there, and you're going to end up with a 12-horse field. I mean, so this is one of those races where you just don't know. I mean, you think about Whitmore's win last year, where you kind of thought Whitmore was a little done, and then you have this huge comeback from Whitmore where he's able to just kind of get the perfect trip because of the setup early and how much speed was in there. So I think this is one of those races where it's really hard to predict who you're going to like until it kind of comes to the week of, when you actually see the field, can figure out how the pace is going to play out and see where the draw is like.
Question here in the chat from Michael Myers. Do you guys like First Captain moving forward? First Captain is now undefeated in 3 starts. He was late to the scene as a 3-year-old, but just won the for Sugar McGay. He just won the Dwyer Stakes over the weekend. He looked good. It was his first time trying stakes company. He went maiden special weight on debut, allowance, and now here. I thought that he looked good. I think he's progressing well, but I think this is a horse that kind of like Happy Saver was late onto the scene last year as a 3-year-old. I think this is one that gives Sugar time. Hopefully can turn into a strong 4-year-old. I know Happy Saver, we're not quite sure is there yet. Did you get a chance to see First Captain win?
I did. I wasn't that impressed. He didn't beat much. I think that was the other big issue I had with it. The buyer comes back 90, which isn't great. It's definitely a horse I think you got to keep an eye on to see what type of improvement you get here over the short term. But to me, I'm going to kind of take the wait and see approach if we're going to talk about Breeders' Cup for First Captain. I do think that he could take a nice step forward and be a solid stakes horse. Obviously just won a grade 3, but we'll see how big those leaps are because it's, I don't know if you're going to end up in the Jim Dandy, if you're going to try and point toward the Travers eventually, what the goal is here. But he needs to take 1 to 2 steps forward to be competitive in those type of fields.
Yeah, it sounds like the Jim Dandy is possible for his next start, and then hopefully use that to see if they can go ahead and send him to the Travers. I can't wait till I texted Aaron this. I can't wait until Slim finds out about this horse's existence. A 3-year-old for Shug that's coming on at the right time, that's undefeated, it's going up to Saratoga. Nobody tells Slim about it. Let's just wait for that moment when he organically finds out about the horse, and probably the weekend, leading into the entries for the race. I think that wherever he ends up going, I think that's when he's going to find out about him, and then he's going to lose his shit. So that'll be really fun to see because of how much he loves Shug.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting horse. I mean, these 3-year-olds can pop up, man. They can take big time steps forward when you're not expecting it. They're still young enough that you can see the progression still. So I wouldn't say it's out of the question. I'm going to take a wait and see approach, especially if you end up with prices like 2 to 5, which is what he went off at this last weekend.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks so much for joining Mike and I to go through the weekend that was. A little bit of a lighter weekend. There was a lot of stuff, and yet not a lot that we really thought was super worth talking about, but I'm glad we got to cover at least the Breeders' Cup when you're in prep races and the other major stakes that affected those. Over at racingdudes.com, Mike, did you know that the Derby is tomorrow?
Yeah, the Iowa Derby. I mean, everyone Indiana. Is tweeting about it. It's on Twitter is like a buzz with the Iowa Derby.
Indiana Derby. Iowa Derby was last week.
Oh, damn. Indiana Derby. It wasn't a buzz enough.
They're all the same. There's cornfields outside of both of them. That's all that matters. I saw that Aaron is he's about an hour and a half outside of town. I guess he's going to be in town for the week to enjoy some Indiana Derby and Indiana Oaks action. Over at racingdudes.com, got a full preview for you here. Folsom is still undefeated on dirt, streaking in. He won the Matt Winn Stakes, the Oaklawn Stakes. We'll see what happens. This is another 3-year-old to pay attention to, and that is a very, very beautiful, beautifully tragic field that he's facing. He's going to pick up a very nice paycheck. Mike and I have talked about this before. These midsummer derbies at the Midwestern tracks, the Iowa Derby, the Indiana Derby, West Virginia Derby, you can make a lot of cheddar with a horse that maybe isn't like a grade 1 winner, but boy, you can pay a lot of bills with those first place checks.
Dude, if I owned a really good 3-year-old, I would be sending him to a lot of these tracks just to take down those numbers, man. Obviously, I'd want to win the Travers, some races like that. But if I have like just one cut below, it would be Iowa Derby, West Virginia Derby, Indiana Derby, Pennsylvania Derby, just cashing in, man. Because it's like these are all $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 races. I mean, you can make some serious coin off it.
I remember in 2018, the first Indiana Derby we covered was Axelrod, and that was a horse that was, I think, about the first time I found out about your relationship with Slam Dunk Racing. And did you win a tournament, a pick 4? Something big happened with Axelrod winning that race for you. What was it?
I hit a pick 4 with it, which I think we actually gave out on the show. And then we also were doing like the blinkers off and Magic Mike Show back and forth weekend picks. And we nailed that. That was one of the big Axelrod separators for us, too. It helped the ROI, too.
Oh, boy. Back when we were still trying to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
You have. I still am, but you have. You definitely proved yourself more than once. Make sure you check out racingnews.com. We're going to have the preview for that, the recaps for it available. Also, some other news you see up on the page. There was a very nice Barkley tag horse named Ombre who broke his maiden at Belmont Park, is pointing to the Queen's Plate, which is going to be in August. So that's one to pay attention to. Oh, Aaron says the Oklahoma Derby. We forgot about the Oklahoma Derby at Remington Park. So there's another Midwestern midsummer Derby to check out.
And don't forget, you got the 10-cent, or I'm sorry, you have the 50-cent 10% takeout for the late pick 5 there at Indiana Grand tomorrow as well. So if you're playing Indiana Grand, you got some stakes races in that late pick 5, which is definitely worth checking out with the low takeout.
Three or four of them, actually. They know the Iowa Oaks, or Iowa. See, now you got me saying Iowa. Indiana Oaks, Indiana Derby are the last 2 races of the card. I know that much.
Yeah, I think it's $275,000 stakes before them, too. I have I may or may, we're still figuring out what to do. If I get a chance to go through it, I printed it out already. If I get a chance to go through it, I might have Silent Bombs tomorrow, throw a free grid up, or throw a late pick 4 ticket or something. So we'll see how much time I actually have tonight and tomorrow to be able to get through the card.
Well, if you want to find out if Mike goes through with that, make sure you follow him on Twitter at SummerBomb18, number 1, number 8. I am at Curtis Kellerwood, Corporate Overlords at Racing_Dudes. If you're going to be at Indiana Grand today or tomorrow, tweet at him. Aaron is there, and Aaron will more than likely be drunk. So make sure you check out, make sure you hook up with him, and he'll get you set up at the bar. It'll be a really great time. You won't regret it. Maybe you will. Either way, we'll be back on Thursday. We're going to take a look at a pick 4 sequence. Mike, I feel like with the Belmont Derby and the Belmont Oaks, we have to go to Belmont. Just pray for some warm weather, dry weather.
I'm down with that. Let's head to Belmont for this weekend.
Awesome, cool. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck in Indiana.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.